Today's review is from Tiny Rebel. What's cooler than being cool? This is a New England double IPA and it's available in Sainsbury's supermarket. But what's it going to be like? Keep watching to find out. Welcome back to Rockers Beer Review. Today we're doing another beer from the new Sainsbury's range. This is Tiny Rebel. What's cooler than being cool? Great looking sort of can here, quite sort of, I saw this, thought, yeah, I have to try that. New England IPA, grabbed it off the shelf. And it wasn't until I got it back home that I realised it's tiny little 8% there. It's 8% ABV. So it's actually a New England double IPA, really. From Tiny Rebel. I think this was $4.25, but you could, if you can buy it as part of the 4 for free. You pay you basically get the fourth one for free. The fourth one, the cheapest for free. So if you bought 4 of these, you'd be paying what, £12.75 for 4 cans of a double IPA. It's pretty good value for money. Obviously, if it's rubbish, then it isn't good value. We don't know much about it. It doesn't say the hops on it. Doesn't seem to be any sort of adjuncts. It is wheat, barley, wheat and oats. And all we know is it's 8%. So I suppose all we could do is crack it open, get it in a glass, see what it's all about. Because the last review, you might have seen the Tiny Rebel, the Summer Slam. It wasn't a bad IPA actually, but very thin. So I'm wondering if this is going to be thin. And then I'm wondering whether, but it shouldn't be because it's a double IPA. You should have a bit more body in it. Make sure I'm giving it an aggressive pour. I feel like aggressive pours are needed. Well, beer in a glass. That looks pretty good. I mean, it looks similar to the Summer Slam. It's sort of that straw-coloured light yellow. Got very loose, light bubble head. It's like a finger, but it ain't going to last at all. I always find that this is the reason, you just don't get a nice foam at the top, and this is what I miss in the beer. But already the aroma's filling the room. It smells pretty good just from here. I think it looks quite good, apart from the lack of head, which is going to be literally disappearing to nothing in a very short time. But let's get the aroma, shall we? Oh yeah, it smells like a good double IPA. There's that real dank, grassy sort of aroma. As I say, don't know what hops are in it. And it's been a day since I had the last one, but similar. There's a grapefruit aroma, much more on the citrus side. There's an earthiness. There is a little bit. I expect there's something like Idaho 7 in it as well, because you're getting that sort of that black tea. Yeah, still difficult to sort of determine what else is in it. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's very similar to the other one, but obviously in a double IPA. And as you say, the head now is disappearing. I don't even think we're going to get much in the way of lacing either. It doesn't seem to be that sort of beer. Let's drink it. Cheers, everyone. Ooh. It's a quite hoppy or alcoholic, one of those two. It's thin, light, but there's a sort of oiliness about it, which is a bit different. It doesn't sort of taste like watery. It's got an oily sort of texture, but at the same time, it's sort of really it sort of slides down, a little bit too quickly. There's not much of that flavour that's sort of hanging around. Flavour-wise, it's almost quite difficult to really sort of get to the bottom of it. You've got a real weedy, dank flavour right up front. There's a warmth in there, so you're sort of, it's really disguising the sort of flavour of any sort of fruit flavour that you're getting. I'd say there's a little bit of, there's probably some New Zealand sort of hops in there, because you're getting some of that sort of lemongrass, slight sort of wine flavour, slight grape wine sort of flavours. There's a sort of subtleness of melon in there, and grapefruit's coming through, and then there's an earthiness as well. I probably, I'd say I bet my life on it, but I think Idaho 7 is in this because it's got that sort of Idaho 7 flavour, similar to the last one. Is in that sort of black tea, slightly peppery taste on the back end. It could even be something like Rawaka as well, but I'm thinking the Idaho 7. But what else has it got in it? It's quite a difficult one to unpack. It's ruined by the fact that its body is too light and thin. The flavours don't sort of cling that you want them to, and you get a warmth. You know it's a double IPA, 8%, because you're getting that little element of warmth that you wouldn't get in a pale or an IPA. But at the same time, you expect a bit more flavour, a bit more a flavour that you can sort of describe. I suppose that's it. You're getting a lot of hoppy flavours, a lot of warmth, a weedy dankness. But where's the brightness? I mean, you're not getting... There's grapefruit, there's a little bit of sharpness in there, but is that grapefruit, or is it just a sort of mixture of like citrus fruits? I think the grape sort of element is probably quite more pronounced, but it doesn't taste as good as those sort of good Nelson Sauvignon IPAs. I reckon it's probably... I reckon you've got some Simcoe. I reckon you've got Idaho 7 in this. And then I reckon you might have something like Rawaka or something like that. I did a little bit of research on it and thought, well, maybe if you go on the website, it might tell us what the hops are. It doesn't. Nowhere. And you always worry when the beer doesn't tell us the hops anywhere, because you think, or is it made with some sort of hoppy mixture? I don't know. I mean, no, I don't think it is. It doesn't taste artificial in its flavour. It tastes like there's hops in it. But the balance isn't quite right, and I think it's just because there isn't the mouthfeel for it. But it's not bad. It's drinkable. I don't know. I think when you're drinking a double IPA, you get 8%. You know, most of them are 8%. You get the flavour, but for me, it's like having all that flavour and 8% and not having the body to go with it. It sort of almost ruins it, and that's when you think, oh, I'd rather drink an IPA at 6.5% if it's got a better body. And I'm really all about the body. You know, the body's important. Forget about the face; it's about the body. Yeah. In a lot of these beers, and I feel like I've said it quite a lot over the last sort of couple of months, is that a good beer can be ruined if the body's not there, and an average beer can be much better if the body's there. So you've got to get the body right. You've got to get that mix right. That's why the likes of Verdant and an old school Daya, but I'm thinking Verdant, especially at the moment, they get it right all the time because the body is always good. I think that Azvecs are starting to get there, certainly consistency with the body there as well. Polly's, you know, generally, forget the supermarket stuff, but the general stuff, the body's right. They use the right sort of, the right levels of malts, the right levels of oats and wheat and yeast and whatever, and it does affect the body. The cheaper stuff usually has a lack of body. You don't usually get a cheap beer that doesn't taste right but it's got a really good body. That very rarely happens. And I always think that, you know, that's just down to the fact that the body part of a beer brewing process, to some extent, costs more, is more expensive to get the body right. And like, you know, well, you know, to get a body like this, it's cost me a lot of money. So, you know, it should be the same with beer. But I'm rabbiting on. I'm nearly at 10 minutes. So let's get some scores. Okay, the scores are in for what's cooler than being cool. This is a New England IPA, double IPA I should say, from Tiny Rebel, available in supermarkets. Well, one supermarket I'm aware of, Sainsbury's, £4.25. Even that on its own is pretty damn cheap for a double IPA. But if you bought 4 of them, then you'd get the 4th one for free. So you'd be paying £12.75, which divided by 4 is a sum that I think is quite difficult to work out. It's under £4 basically. You're looking at, well, it's under £3.50. You know, let's actually work it out. 4 to 75, 12, so 12 would be £4, £3. It'd be £3.25. Is that right? I don't know. Yeah. Oh, you won 4. Yeah, you're free. Yeah, less than £3.20. It's like £3.16 or something like that. It is £3.16.6. So if you bought 4 of those, which is a ridiculously cheap for a double IPA. Is it a great double IPA? It's not a great one, but when you compare it with something like that Brewdog double IPA that was terrible, it's a lot better. And I think people would like it. For me, not as good. The mouthfeel is, you know, it has caused it to lose points. In fact, the mouthfeel was right on this beer. I reckon it'd be kicking close to being in a highly recommended. But let's go for the scores. So we start with Aroma. Yeah, I thought it smelled good. 14 out of 20. Appearance. I've only given it 7. I mean, the colour wise, I think it looks pretty good. But it's just like, there's just no sort of, there's no head or foam or anything like that. And that puts me off a little bit visually. Flavour. Yeah, I think the flavour's there, just the body isn't. Value for money. Well, I talked about the score, the price. What we're saying, under £3.20 for a can if you bought 4 of them. But even at £4.25, still pretty damn good value for money. And finally, my overall experience. Scores are lower for this mainly because the body isn't quite so good. There is that weediness. I want a little bit more brightness in the flavour, but apart from that, you know, it's the body that lets it down from my overall experience. But we top the scores up and we get a recommended 76 out of 100. So we're just above the high range of the recommended. We're not near 80s or whatever, or we're on the way there, but it's basically for a double IPA for the price. It's reasonable. I think in terms of a beer on its own, forget whether it's a double IPA, it's above average for the supermarkets. But you know, if you went and bought, you know, you think the reviews I've done recently for like that Peacherine, that's a much better beer. But then that was £7.50, so you know, swings and roundabouts, I suppose. But it's not a bad beer. But let me know if you've had it before. Let me know if you've had it recently. Have you picked it up like me and thought it was an IPA, and only when you got back home you realised it was 8% and you thought, oh, that's a little bit high for my normal taste and flavour. But you drank it and you thought, well, actually, it's not too bad. But let me know in the comments what you think. That's enough for me today. We've got more Sainsbury Supermarkets beers to go. We've got the salt one. We've got the Mad Squirrel one. We've got the rhubarb and custard. There's lots to come. So if you want to hear what the reviews are like for them, then hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and then you'll get them into where you want them. You know, on your phone, on your tablet, whatever, and you'll get notified, and you can watch those reviews and see if they're any good. And that's enough for me today. So give it a thumbs up, and until the next one, you know what you do. Drink good craft beer and keep on rocking.